it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you very much for joining me again today. Today, actually, I'm sort of part way through a project, and then I suddenly thought, actually, you might find it an interesting project. So, this is the box that I have made. It's very specific to some gifts that we are giving our some of our friends, and I just hope they don't watch this before they receive their gifts. However, you never know. A couple of them might. So, it is specifically for 4 of these bottles, which the ones they're getting will be filled. And they are bottles from Lakeland. For the UK, people will know what Lakeland is. What I don't know is whether you can get them outside the UK, but they come in these boxes of 6 100milliliter presentation bottles, and they are specifically for home produce, and you do them up. So they come with the lid loose, and you screw them on, and it seals it. It's a one-time seal, so obviously I won't do it. So I have done little labels, and I thought I would show you how to make the box. As much as anything, because it's bigger than, you need card that is bigger than 12 by 12, and that's obviously a challenge. So I thought I would show you how to do it. Now I have started, so apologies, but I stopped soon enough that we can do this together. So you need 2 pieces of cardstock, so that it is bigger than 12 inches, because the finished box is 6 inches tall by 3 1/4 on each side, because it's obviously a square box because you've got 4 things in it. So obviously 3 1/4 is bigger than 12, and because of the way that I've done the box, you need more than 12 inches to go round. Well, you don't, and that's what I'm going to explain. So you need 2 pieces of card. They are both 12 inches up and down or side to side, but there's one is 12, one measurement is 12, and the other, for the big one, it's 10 3/4 inches, and for the smaller one, it's 3 1/4 inches. So what you do, and obviously I have already scored mine, but I will show you what I've done. So with your simply scored, with your shorter edge at the top, so the 10 3/4 on your larger piece, you score at 1/2 inch, 3 3/4, 7, 10 1/4. You then pivot it round, it doesn't matter which way, and you score at, oh, having said that, I actually did it the other way, so let's do it the other way. 1/2, 3 3/4, and 9 3/4 inches. Because this is a specific box, I am not going to convert it to metric, but if you're using the scoreboard, even if you're not using the scoreboard, inches and centimetres are just units. So if you forget whether they're inches or centimetres, just go with them being inches, and they're just units. So you're doing 1/2 unit, 3 3/4 units, etc. The scoreboard comes with inches, and the trimmer comes with both inches and metric if you're in Europe, so you can use the imperial measurements, so I'm not going to convert it. Sorry. So to go back, 1/2, 3 3/4, 7, 10 1/4, 1/2, 3 3/4, 9 1/4 on your big piece. On your narrow piece, you only score the same as we've just done, 1/2, 3 3/4, and 9 3/4, because that's effectively going to be your back wall. So you then score everything, burnish everything, and then you're going to cut it down. This you leave whole, so this one you do not touch, that keep. Your bigger piece you cut down quite dramatically, actually, which means you could possibly save some of your length, but it's going to be a slither, so I really wouldn't worry. So So this bottom is the narrow piece. So at the top we've got 3 1/4 inch squares and then a 1/2 inch. At the bottom we've got a narrower strip. This we're keeping most of. We're going to cut away this narrow piece here, which I'm actually going to do this way up. I'm using my bigger scissors. But actually, let's see, will it be easier? No, I don't think it is. I'm using my bigger scissors because it is quite a big box. So I'm just cutting that away. And then I am going to cut away the whole of the crease, just because it does give you a slightly neater finish on your base. I'm not wedging, I'm literally just cutting from the width of the crease down to a point. So if I was using dressmaking terms, I would be doing a dart. So it's thicker at this end and almost nothing at this end. And then again, I'm going to take out the crease on this narrow piece and then cut the whole narrow piece away. And then at the top, again, I'm cutting that at an angle because I'm going to stick this to my spare piece. Then this, I'm actually going to trim down, but I'm going to lose all of this. So I'm going to lose all of that first, and I'm going to cut with the crease towards the piece I'm cutting away. If that makes sense. So this is the score line. This is the score line here. And then I'm going to again cut so that the score line is going to be cut away. And then I'm going to cut the whole of this piece off. What's going to be the easiest way of doing that? Probably this way. Maybe not, but we'll give it a go. No, it's going to be this way. So I'm going to get rid of that one and then come in. And again, I'm going to cut away. Sorry, the lighting is appalling. I was hoping that doing it in the middle of the afternoon would be a better time to do it. So we've got that, and then I'm going to cut so that these are about between 1/2 and 3/4 inch, that bit there, and then I'm going to cut away this piece here, and I'm going to leave it straight because I'm going to round those corners. So again, 1/2 to 3/4 inch, about there, and then cut off the 1/2 inch at the end. So you're left with some quite chunky bits which you can then use for your stamping, because you're going to make labels. So they're very good for making your labels with. So whilst, as I say, you could cut this piece so that it was narrower, and then of course you would get the whole of your 3 inches at the bottom. However, such is life. It doesn't matter because we're doing all sorts of clever things. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is round my corners. I'm using a retired corner rounder. You could use the corner rounder on the envelope punch board, but I'm going to round the corners of my flaps. And I have to say, in all honesty, the reason that I didn't think about having the 3 inches at the bottom was purely and simply because I was doing it kind of on the fly. And as I say, I hadn't intended to video this. So, yeah, it's not perfect, but it works. Right, so I'm going to stick my back onto my front. And this obviously does need to be 12 inches. This is probably actually why it shouldn't be 3 inches at the bottom, because this piece never will be. So it's really better to have everything the same rather than things different. That's my excuse, and I'm going to stick to it. Fast fuse along the bottom here, or edge I should say. Don't be stingy with your fast fuse, because you're holding a lot of bottle, and if you filled your bottles, quite a lot of liquid. And I have filled my bottles, so again, fast fuse on the flap. And I am doing a double strip so that I know I've got it on all of the flap. Now my surface rubs clean. If you have a problem with fast fuse, silicone mat is your friend. Right, so you want to line this up so that it's square there, and give it a good burnish, and then this you can just fold your two sides in. Now one thing I did find is that you may end up with a teeny weeny bit of this piece proud. It's actually not too bad on this one. So just be aware that you need this to be very accurately cut. If anything goes a hair of a smidge under. Right, I'm going to round the corners of this, which is our flap for the top of the box. And then just check that that is going to fit together nicely, because now is the moment to trim it. If not, yeah, see, I need to just trim this edge a tiny weeny bit, because it is a little larger, and then just redo my corner. And that is because you're adding an extra piece. There we are. So that's a nice snug fit. So snug I can't get it out again. Now, this is probably the moment to cover your box. I am using the retiring Be Merry. Be Merry? Is it Be Merry? Ooh, is it Be Merry? Merry Little Christmas. Apologies. Merry Little Christmas. It's the one with the green. This is crumb cake. It's actually it's crumb cake / craft. It comes in the 12 by 12 Old Olive craft pack, but it's nearer crumb cake than it is the original craft. And I've chosen for this one the Christmas trees. Now they do actually go in order, so shall I, let's see if I can make sure they are, because I cut them from one strip. So I'm going to see if I can work out the order they need to be in. Right, that definitely goes there. It's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, isn't it? That I think goes there. And then that comes over there. Now, the reason that I am doing this is not just because I've got OCD. Probably is. It's just if you put one of the two middle panels on the front and then work round, it means that the join is at the back. So just decide which one's going to be your middle. Yeah, go from there. Right, I'm going to use fast fuse. You could use Snell if you want, but as I have fast fuse out, I'm going to use fast fuse. And apparently attach bits of, arbitrary bits of corner round as well, which is not a good idea. So I'm going to attach this before I do anything else. And I've cut these at 3 inches wide by 5 3/4 inches tall, which means you can get all of the panels going round out of half a sheet, or just under half a sheet of designer series paper, which is always a plan. So if you've got any scraps left, you can then use those for the lid. And then you'll still have half a sheet of paper left for another box. So for those of you who like my weather reports, this morning I went out round our village delivering Christmas cards, and it was incredibly cold. Our road, which is, calling it a road is really overinflating its importance in the village life. It's a track. It's what is known technically as a byway open to all traffic, or a boat. So it's effectively a footpath you can drive down, and as such it's not made up, it's just mud and shingle, so it does tend to have puddles, and if anyone has spotted my Instagram feed, which does go through to Facebook, I took a picture earlier this week of what looked like a river past our kitchen window. It wasn't, it was just our kitchen window. So that was very, 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 very frozen this morning. Now I'm going to put my lid that way because I think it makes more sense that the trees should grow up. So yes, so I walked around the village. It was supposed to take about 3/4 of an hour, because I had to cover pretty much the whole village and deliver cards en route. It ended up taking a lot longer because I kept bumping into people, which is of course one of the joys of living in a village. You know people, so you stop and chat. It does, however, mean that my hour ended up being more like 2. In fact, it was nearer 2.5. However, there we go. There are worse things. So I'm just going to pop that in there just to give the box a little bit of rigidity. I want this to be the last flap that goes in because it's the front. So these are going to be the first 2. One thing you do have to be aware of is that they will not meet across, well, they'll meet, but they won't come all the way. So I'm just going to put glue on about 1 inch of this. It doesn't matter too much if you do too much, if you see what I mean. Because I am going to then put a lining in the bottom of my box to give it extra rigidity. Let's just get rid of that glue because it's going to annoy me. So lining everything up square. Of course, it's now not going to want to. Going to give it just a little something. We will be going in and sorting that out properly. Right, so this is the last piece to go in. This is then going in first. So I'm going to put glue pretty much, or adhesive I should say. Now at this point you could actually switch to multi-purpose glue. Because that will give you a nice strong adhesion, but I'm not. And again, I'm going to put glue or fast fuse all over this. So yes, so it's a bit chilly. It's now just a bit kind of grey, but the puddles on our road were about 1/2 inch thick with ice. So yeah, it was a little fresh. Now, I'm not worried that that doesn't look particularly special because I've got another piece to go on the bottom. You don't have to, obviously, but I just thought it was nice to have a piece on the bottom. So I'm going to have a piece on the bottom. It just covers up the fact that it's got a join. Right, so that's that. Now, I have got, I thought I had, but apparently I don't, some pieces to go inside. Okay, fair enough. It's not a problem because I can use my flap. So, what I am going to do is cut that to just under 3 3 1/4 inches. so that it's snug but not over snug. I'm having to use a different trimmer because I know where my trimmer is and it's not accessible. So I'm not even going to bother. So I'm cutting at about 3 1/8. So that's 3 1/8. So it will be in there, but not too snug. Now I'm going to be very brave. Actually, no, I'm not going to be very brave. I'm going to be less brave. So I'm just going to put some fast fuse on the base, and then drop that in. Then take your bone folder and just make sure that everything is nicely stuck. Right, so that's that. Now, to make sure that the bottles, gosh, this is 20 minutes in, to make sure that the bottles don't rattle around, I've then taken a piece of, I've now found the piece I was going to put inside. I've got a piece, 2 pieces of cardstock cut at 4 inches deep and 3 1/4 inches across, and then all I've done is cut them up at 2 inches, and I've just cut a little bit of a gap between the two, and then you can pop them together, drop them in, and then if you see, you get, it stops your bottles from rattling next to each other. So if I bring in the original, you can probably see just about that there's that cross in the middle. Right, so for the, very quickly, because this is getting silly lengthwise, for the labels, I've moved, and therefore can't now see, oh there we are. I have used the Label Me Pretty stamp set with the matching Pretty label punch. If you buy them together, they are a bundle, so that saves you 10%. These are in the annual catalogue. Remember the annual catalogue? It gets about 2 months and then everyone forgets about it. These are in the annual catalogue as a bundle. So I've just taken the From My Kitchen to Yours, stamped it, then turned it over, remembering which way up is, and then I've used the this just to pretty the sides. Then with I've just printed off what I've got in the bottle and then punched it out with a 1-inch circle punch and then a 1 1/4 inch circle punch for the Old Olive. So really easy. Then to attach it, I've used the 1/8 inch handheld punch and just punched at the top and then fed through some of the jute twine. That is a foot of jute twine, and I've then just tied a knot at the top like that, and then you can just tie that around the neck of your bottle. So really easy. It's just a nice way of dressing up your bottles. Now obviously if you're giving 6 bottles, then you could use the original packaging if you really want to, but for 4 this seemed like a nice thing to do. So if I bring in, that's the original, and then the one I have just made, those are our 2 boxes. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Sorry it was a wee bit long. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more projects from me, just hit the subscribe button, which is down in the bottom right hand corner there. The measurements will be over on my blog. The associated post for that is immediately below here. If you click on more information, I think it's more information, then there'll be a link to the blog post for this. There's also a link to my online store, my Facebook page, all that good stuff. If you need any of the products, please do hop over on to my store. That would be great. Because the catalogue is coming, the autumn winter catalogue is coming to an end, a lot of items are reduced. but equally once they're gone, they're gone. Particularly in the UK and the US, you do get a little bit longer for the stamps because they're manufactured in the US, so it's easy to get them to the delivery centre. But obviously for the UK, they have to be shipped, so once they're gone in UK or Europe, they are gone. So if you want them, you know what to do. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!